running up the score.
Jerry Napoleonello.
This team has been on the clock for 4 months now. Why are we taking this down to the 4-minute mark? You know, you have 10 minutes here. 10 minutes here, but you've had 4 months. The dude's got 1,021 text messages that he hasn't read yet. Did we not notice that?
Kevin Donlin.
Bryce Harper's a great player. He's very, very talented. Aside from last year, but I blame myself. I'm pretty sure I'm the reason for that with fantasy baseball. That's disgusting.
Wow.
I can't believe that's real. I mean, again, I'm not. I shouldn't hate. I'm not going to be the kind of person that hates.
No,
He is doing enough hating for the both of us.
As a Cowboys fan, the expectations are so high, and it's just, you're dug into the ground by the end of the season.
You're basically like what the Patriots are, but like you try to do it, but you just don't.
No.
Yeah. At least the Jets, you know what I mean? They have excuses.
This is Running Up the Score, your one-stop spot for all things sports. Now here's your hosts, Jerry Napoleonello and Kevin Donlin.
All right. Running Up the Score back. Jerry Napoleonello, Kevin Donlin. We got a good week of sports this week. We had the NFL playoffs. We had the championship games happen this past weekend. Great games. We had the MLB Hall of Fame induction. Well, again, it's not the inductions. It's basically saying that who will be inducted. We had two guys, Larry Walker, Derek Jeter. The NFL draft is in Las Vegas this year. So that's, everything's got to be big in Las Vegas, and they are definitely doing that, and we'll let you know how and why. The NHL, we're at the All-Star Weekend. We're at the halfway mark. We're going to discuss some NHL talk. And the UFC, McGregor's back, everybody. McGregor is back. We'll discuss that fight. We'll discuss what's up next for Conor McGregor. And a big-time athlete, I guess you can say, is retiring in the New York area, and we'll discuss that as well. But first, before we get into all of that, my man Kev went to the Islander-Ranger game last night. Obviously, we're both Islander fans, and we loved every second of that game. How was it?
It was a great game. The Madison Square Garden is always a really nice place to see a game.
Yeah.
I mean, they really, with the designs they did, it really is state of the art.
Yeah.
And for the Islanders to go in there and find a way to get 2 points out of that, it was big time. The Islanders obviously had their struggles, and we've seen them over the past couple of games. Obviously, the humongous lead that was blown in the third period against the Washington Capitals, and that's the team you're chasing. They've been passed by the Pittsburgh Penguins since then. The New York Rangers are a team that are on the bottom half of the Metropolitan, and they found two good wins against the New York Islanders. A dominating performance in the first game, and a penalty-filled second game that led to a unfortunate power play for the New York Rangers, coming from an Islander fan perspective. And they were able to win the game with about 30 seconds remaining, which is obviously a heartbreaker for. If you're ever rooting for a team, they give up a goal with about 30 seconds remaining. It really is a heartbreaker. Every point is valuable,
especially after the penalty that was called that led to that goal, which was.
When I watch a game like that coming from a fan, and Ranger fans could 100% agree with this because they've definitely been on the worst end of that themselves this season alone. I've seen it. So, come playoff time, hockey turns into a different game.
Absolutely.
It's a more
physical.
Physical. I wanted to use the word violent, but I wouldn't even say violent is the way to go about it. But it is a very physical game.
Yeah. There's
so much that goes on within the playoffs of the National Hockey League, and one thing that doesn't are penalties.
Yeah.
The penalties are very, very limited for the most part. I wouldn't even say last year. Last year was kind of like a bit of a shock. But for the most part, over the last couple of seasons, the penalties have been called less and less. And for a game like that the other night against the New York Rangers, 10 penalties. We're talking they called an embellishment, man. They called, there was goaltender. They were just calling everything. And even Ranger fans will tell you, I mean, it wasn't, an embellishment on Panarin, and Cizikas hooked him. And if Cizikas is getting called for hooking, why is Panarin going to the box for embellishment? I mean, it's one or the other.
Yeah.
It's a big problem the NHL had years ago. Obviously, they wanted to take out, any kind of acting scenes that a player feel like they can do.
It happens all the time, though.
100. I understand. It's nothing like the cheating scandals I've heard in these other sports. So this is like they want to consider that cheating in a way, which is crazy. But
well, you have the NBA with flopping, so it's the same exact thing.
Absolutely, and it's just a way to get, it basically is the flopping of the NHL, and they found a way to try to limit it by, creating the embellishment call. So.
Yeah.
But so many penalties were called in that game. The Rangers have played very well. I'm not going to take any credit away from them. That performance they had, even when they scored with 30 seconds left on that power play, they played a great game because that was the Islanders playing their game. And the Islanders have played that game all year long against the rest of the NHL and have been very successful. So for the Rangers to be able to hold it down with the New York Islanders in that game, it was quite impressive, but it wasn't that picture, last night. Yeah. And the Islanders found a way to get out to an early lead, a couple of power play goals, something else that had been struggling for them. And they held on to the lead. The Islanders have been very good at holding on to leads. It was very shocking what happened the other day in Washington. Actually, no, I'm sorry. That was at the Coliseum. That was a home game that you blew a 4-1 lead. So it's almost it's very alarming. Well, don't take any credit away from the Washington Capitals. They played really well, and that third period was unbelievable by them. And one goal that Ovechkin had by himself in that period was just, wow. It was a goal that made it 4-3. If you have a chance at any moment, just try to look that up. That was an incredible goal. But the Islanders, the main goal going into the All-Star break, just got to find ways to just continue to win games.
Exactly. And, with the Islanders, obviously, when you see, because something happened towards the end of the game, and we started to see that number 13 in an Islanders uniform was not on the ice.
And you know what's funny? I was at that game. I didn't realize that at
really?
all. Not at all. Didn't even realize. I was just watching the. Obviously,
it was really the only. It was
we were on the penalty kill.
The last 6 minutes of the game. Of course, when the Rangers feel like scoring 2 goals, and just everything was going on with the Islanders. They were playing very sloppy towards the end of the game. Bad penalties. Giving them power plays. They had 2 6-on-4s. So, all of a sudden you start noticing that Matt Barzal was not on the ice. So then
I figured that was penalty kill, and I thought that came into play.
You start to worry that maybe there's an injury. And then you start you see him on the bench and he's just not moving, and his line goes out there, finishes up, comes back on, his line goes out again. Then you start to wonder. So then you hear Barry Trotz at the end of the game basically say he knows what he did, and we're gonna keep that between coach and player. So it ended up coming out. I think Arthur. I think
that's a big deal. That a coach goes out there and says something like that to the media, because you know what? I'm going to answer your question,
but I'm not going to give.
But I'm not going to give you a single detail as to why, because the kid knows what he did. I know what he did, and we're going to continue. We're going to continue to move on. If you can't see it, then don't worry about it.
Yeah. Later on, Arthur Staple, he basically tweeted out and said he didn't really give the exact reasoning. It was just basically he was doing some selfish things on the ice. Barry Trotz didn't like that. Barry Trotz benched them. Obviously, when you look at the Islanders, your best player is Matt Barzal. So the fact that Barry Trotz, I know it's the halfway mark of the game of the season. It's still a big game. It's still a big game. It's still the Rangers. You already lost 2 of them. This is the 3rd time you're playing them in 9 days. You lost the first 2 against the Rangers. It's still a big game. And you bench your best player towards the end of the game for reasons of, that's what you like to see in a coach. If he's going to go out there and take your best player off the ice just because, you know what, you're doing some selfish things, not liking it, sit down on the bench, don't ever do it again. And that's why Barry Trotz is as good as he is, one of the best coaches in the NHL. And that's the reason why the Islanders are number 3 in the Metropolitan Division. We're only one game in the loss column behind the Penguins. They're 4 points behind the Penguins. They're 8 points behind the Capitals. Capitals are just playing at another level right now. The Islanders could have beat the Capitals. I mean, like you said, they had a 4-1 lead.
Oh, they can definitely hold it down with anyone in the league. And the best part about what you just said now is like coming from an Islander perspective, like a fan perspective. Yeah. And you see that, Barry Trotz is willing to bench his best player. Now, I remember as an Islander fan for the past 7-8 years where our best player basically owned the joint.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's nothing against John Tavares. I mean, John, you earned that, as every Islander fan would agree. We had no objection to you doing the things you did. We're talking extra shifts, stuff like that. But if any of our head coaches would have ever to have benched
it would have been a big
John Tavares, and let's say 2 goals were scored, we almost lost the game, just like what happened last night, there wouldn't be an upbringing on. There would be. I mean, I'm sorry. There would be a huge upbringing on the head coach and his decision making. But in this situation, that it seems like a lot of Islander fans are backing with Barry Trotz, and Matt Barzal's a very talented player, but he's a young player.
Yeah,
and there's a lot to learn in this league.
The thing that it could have been different if the Islanders were losing. That I will say, it could have been different. Definitely in the fans' perspective, but you just still like to see it, especially in a win. That's something that you want to see. Listen, I'm going to correct it now. You're not going to do that, and that's the kind of coach that Barry Trotz is. And like I said, that's huge. I
don't remember him ever doing anything like this to Ovechkin, but I think at that point Ovechkin was a very polished player.
Well, that's the thing. You still have Matt Barzal at his
young
beginning.
He's a very young kid still, so there's a lot to learn, and obviously there's a maturity level that I think Matt's going to eventually get to. It's not even a concern of mine, to be honest with you. He seems like a very mature person off the ice. But obviously,
unreal. With
he's an unbelievable player, and he should know it. Yeah. At this point, I mean, and I'll be honest. I watched the game, and I can't even help but call him a freak when I'm watching a game, and I'm like, because you just can't. I can't do the things he can do, like in a video game, and that's when you know that, like, wow, this kid is actually something special. He's very fun to watch, and I'm grateful to be an Islander fan and have that man on my team. It's really an amazing time to be an Islander fan, and obviously being third in the Metropolitan right now is a great sign. Everyone had this team at the bottom. They still have him at the bottom. They had him as being one of the worst teams again this year, despite the success last year and the year before. But the Islanders just continue to prove people wrong. Barry Trotz continues to prove people wrong. And this whole organization has just done great strides, and I think it'll just get better the closer and closer we get to Belmont.
Absolutely. And I drive by the Belmont every day, and it's getting close, man.
Almost every day. Sometimes I go the other way.
Yeah,
it's two routes
just seeing the frame, I guess, the framing and the beams being up there.
It makes you almost feel like it's realistic, it's coming, and
exactly.
It's going to be an arena built for them.
That's, I think, the biggest part about that whole situation is that it's being built. It's not up in the air like it's been for the last 5 years. It's happening. Like, it's happening.
Absolutely.
The Islanders will be back on the island, even though they never left, because technically Brooklyn is still on the island. We know.
Not only are they going to be on that, they're going to be in my backyard.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to be right there.
Yeah.
So it's really it's quite incredible, and obviously the Islanders and the success they have so far has just been an amazing ride, and hopefully they can continue it. This win against the Rangers is definitely a big time boost. But the success has been there all year for them. They just got to continue to run the stride.
Yeah, so
run in stride.
So staying in the New York area, we had a few things happen. First off, yesterday we had the 2 players being named to the 2020 MLB Hall of Fame that will be inducted in July 26th to be exact.
I was looking forward to him bringing this up.
Yes. Because you know where I'm going.
I know exactly where you're going with it.
So Larry Walker gets in, which deserves it. It's his last year actually on the ballot too, so he's lucky that he made it. I think he deserves it. He was fantastic for the Rockies for all those years. But then the big name was Derek Jeter. Now, we've been waiting for this for a while. Derek Jeter is a Hall of Famer. Everybody knows it. Everybody knew it was going to happen. Now, after last year, the question was going to be...
Not everyone thought that.
Will he be a unanimous?
And obviously he wasn't.
He was not unanimous, which really... I don't understand it, but
you have to hear me out on this.
One
and
vote,
a lot of
vote.
people don't want to, and it's crazy because we've talked about baseball many times and what's going on right now with everything going on with the cheating and all this stuff. Derek Jeter was a great player. There's no doubt about it. Hall of Famer, absolutely no doubt. I think it's right that the only player to ever be voted unanimous would be Mariano Rivera. I think it's just right that that occurred like that. Because I never have seen baseball as being a team. I mean, a sport in which, the player comes before the team. Meaning that one player can stride and it can lead to a team's success. It's never been true in baseball. The reason why you had great Astro teams and Red Sox teams is because the whole team batted 300. Not one player.
They cheated to do that. But
I understand. And I know, obviously we don't want to go.
That's the reason
I understand.
why it was
I understand.
Yes.
But it takes more than one player in a lineup to lead to success.
Absolutely.
Mariano Rivera was a different breed of what he brought to a team.
Yeah.
He was an automatic closer.
Absolutely.
Automatic.
Not even close.
On the basis of one pitch. He had one pitch, and it did not matter if you stole a sign of Mariano Rivera's.
Yeah.
He was still going to throw that pitch knowing you knew it was coming.
Yeah.
And you had no shot at it. That's what made him the most unbelievable baseball player I've ever seen. And I was so lucky because I didn't get a chance to see him in a game live until his last season ever. And that was just on the basis that every time I went to a Yankee game, they either lost the game or they won the game by 10.
That's true.
There was never a middleman. And it was unfortunate, but I was, grateful to actually see him. And, of course, he got to save, no problem, 3 outs right away. I mean, that's what makes him different. And Derek Jeter is a great player. It's taking nothing away from Derek Jeter, but I don't mind that happened. I actually enjoy the fact that Mariano Rivera, because I don't think there's a single baseball player, and I'll be honest, especially with everything coming out, even in the near future, that will ever get a unanimous vote. They should not. The only person that deserves that would have been Babe Ruth and Mariano Rivera. I really don't see anything. I mean, what Mariano Rivera brought, no one's ever seen anything even close to it. Nothing close. Absolutely. Have you?
No.
Not anything close.
No.
Not even like a percentage. I say a percentage over 50%, I should say. There are some good players out there, and baseball is a very, it's lenient in your success rate.
Yeah.
And what Mariano did was absolutely dominant. So I'll never object to the fact that Derek Jeter not being a unanimous vote into the Baseball Hall of Fame. He's going to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Deserves it. 1 rings, everything. But when it comes to position players, you're one step on the ladder.
Yeah.
You're not the whole ladder. The team's not going to climb all the way to the top on 1 rung. You need an entire team to win this, win in this game. And that's what the beauty of baseball has always been about. How much of a team sport it takes. All right, yeah, one guy got a single. This guy's been batting 400 this year. He's unbelievable. That next guy's got to get the hit too. This is a team game. That's all that matters. But when it came to Mariano and his aspect, it's just there was no teammate involved and needed for what he did.
So now I get to give mine?
Yeah, here we go.
All right, so
you can give me numbers all day.
Hall of Fame is a singular thing. This is I've always had a problem with the writers, no matter what Hall of Fame we're talking about, whether it be the NFL, whether it be the MLB, the Basketball Hall of Fame is just on a whole nother level of stupidness. because it's the Basketball Hall of Fame. It's not the NBA Hall of Fame. So you could be the best college basketball player and the crappiest NBA player, but you're going to get in the Hall of Fame. That's not here nor there. The NFL takes into consideration what kind of person you are. I don't care. It's what he did on the field. If he played unbelievable on the field, was one of the best players at that position on the field, I don't care what he did off the field or what kind of guy he was off the field to the media or to anybody else.
I'll tell you
because
right now,
the Hall of Fame.
You do not want my 2 cents on that.
Well, I'll get you 2 cents after this.
You don't need to.
All right. So now, when I talk about this, all right.
Wow.
Now everybody's argument with Derek Jeter is if he played for any other team, he would just be a regular shortstop. My thing to that is, okay, but he still had 3,465 hits. He still batted a career average of .310. His on-base percentage was .377. His OPS was .817. The guy was an unreal baseball player, okay? And don't even let me get started when it comes to the postseason, because you know what? I'll even give that to the argument. You know, he had a very, very good opportunity when it came to the Yankees. And that's the reason why he had the postseason, games mark, because he leads MLB history in the amount of games. He played technically a whole season in the playoffs. He had 158 games in the playoffs. He batted .308 in the playoffs. Okay, this guy was the epitome of clutch. That's what it was with Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter was not the best shortstop. Heck, he wasn't even the best shortstop on his team at one point. But the guy, just what he did for baseball is my biggest thing. Derek Jeter was the face of baseball for 20 years.
I mean, it's easy for you to say that he's the face of baseball as a Yankee fan.
No, I'm
now,
not
if
even
you're
just
sitting
saying
there,
that
if you're a Milwaukee Brewer fan, you don't care. You don't care if it's the best player on another team.
But you can't say that a Milwaukee Brewer fan doesn't look at Derek Jeter and says, "Wow, this guy did a lot for the sport. This guy is." I mean, just everything that Derek Jeter did was something that, I mean, we're talking about guys in the league now that idolize Derek Jeter.
I'm just saying people do not have that same perspective. On the basis that I understand what you're saying, what he did for the game of baseball. He was winning the New York Yankees a bunch of championships. You think people wanted to see one team winning all these championships? You got to remember the outside perspective. You could say he looked like the face of the sport. I'll always say Babe Ruth was the face of the sport. I'll never object to that because that dude was something else. I never got a chance to watch him.
That's the thing. Like, we never got to see, got to watch him. Our parents never got to watch Babe Ruth. When it comes down to it, this guy played in the MLB for 20 years. He started up in 1995. The guy ended up being the captain of the New York Yankees. And the things that he did on the field and even as the writers, off the field as well, what he did for baseball and his numbers and the fact that it took 396 votes minus one. There was one person that did not vote him. I don't understand how you can actually go into the ballot and say, you know what? I don't see Derek Jeter as a Hall of Famer. How? How do you go into that and say Derek Jeter is not a Hall of Famer? Is that was that even a possibility in your mind?
No.
There wasn't even a possibility. That wasn't even thought about in my mind. I don't understand how someone could go into that and say Derek Jeter is not a Hall of Famer. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. And you know what? I think I'm more angry that he wasn't unanimous because it was one vote. That's what annoys me, is that someone actually went into that and said Derek Jeter is not a Hall of Famer. again, he wasn't the best shortstop, and he wasn't the best shortstop on his team at one point. Alex Rodriguez was. Alex Rodriguez was probably the best shortstop around. You know, when it comes to every single tool that you can have.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion on it.
Well, I understand where you're coming at. And
Rookie of the Year, 14-time All-Star, 5-time World Series champion, 5-time Gold Glove, 5-time Silver Slugger, World Series MVP, an All-Star MVP. I mean, I just...
Definitely,
and then it comes down
there, and he was a good guy off the field. There's no debating he's a Hall of Famer. I just personally, from the perspective of myself, I feel like, I know what the Hall of Fame means. It's a singular sport. I mean, a singular stat of this sport.
It's a singular award.
Yeah,
and that's what it is, and that's something that going into your sport, that's what you want to do. That's the pinnacle of the sport. Yeah, you want to win World Series champions, you want to win Super Bowls, you want to win NBA championships, you want to win Stanley Cups, but then when you're done with your career, yeah, you want to be a Hall of Famer. It's huge.
It's understandable, but again, I just think Mariano is probably the only person that rightfully should get a unanimous vote. Derek Jeter is a great player. It's never going to take anything away from him, but you're just another rung on the pecking order, and you were a good one. You were a good rung. There's nothing. I'm not saying your rung was made of wood and just broke in half the second you stepped on it. Like, you were a good part of that ladder, a sturdy part that played 20 seasons and had those kind of numbers. Kept it super efficient for years in a very tough sport.
And
a career average of 310 is just unbelievable. Okay, and a lot of baseball players will tell you that.
Absolutely.
It sounds crazy, but we don't know. Like I said, this is always going to be a question mark from now on. Ever. I'm a Yankee fan. I love the New York Yankees. I'm never going to think anything as to what could have gone wrong in those clubhouses. The truth be told, no one ever caught anything of any kind. Now, granted, what the Astros did with this buzzing and all that, that's another level.
Yeah.
But you can't tell me teams were not doing similar things, and maybe it might not have been a buzzer, but anything. That's the scary thing about what had happened in baseball. I'm not going to sit there and ever accuse the New York Yankees of this happening too.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, but they're accusing the Astros, they're accusing the Red Sox, they're accusing all these teams that had a great success rate, even though the one thing that kind of proves it wrong is the averages from that Red Sox lineup from a couple of years back.
Absolutely.
That lineup was unbelievable. They were all batting 300. I remember fantasy baseball. You wanted anybody on that lineup,
and
now the Astros, same thing. Even in the best of years for the New York Yankees, you did not see consistent averages like that. No. Okay, Scott Brosius was not batting 310 right next to Derek Jeter. Well, he did pretty good one year, but
Scott Brosius was very good.
Yes.
But you look at.
But you understanding what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. I mean, not everybody was hitting 300. And most weren't.
No.
In that lineup. You had Bernie Williams, Paul O'Neill, Tino Martinez, Derek Jeter. Guys like that. Not everybody. I mean, you even had Shane Spencer at one point, Tim Raines. You had, guys like that, Ricky LeDay. Guys weren't hitting 300. It was just they were just an unbelievable
find a way to win
team.
Of course.
Back then.
Absolutely. With, different rungs to the ladder and climbing up to the championship.
Yeah. So, talking about championships, we had 2 championship games on Sunday in the NFL. The AFC Championship was first, Titans at the Chiefs. So, last week we were talking about the biggest thing for the Chiefs is to stop Derrick Henry. And the biggest thing for the Titans is for Derrick Henry to just go absolutely nuts. And I said the way that the Titans beat the Chiefs this week is if Derrick Henry goes for 130. The first half, I thought he was. I really thought he was. He had 62 yards going into the half. Do you know how much he ended with?
I know it wasn't 70.
69. He had 7 yards in the second half. Do you know how that ended up for the Titans? They're going home now.
You know, when I saw that game and what I saw from it, and, you know, there are some people that will disagree with me right now and, you know, credit that San Francisco defense. They are a very good defense. I don't see anybody stopping Patrick Mahomes. It is very scary, Patrick Mahomes. Very scary, the situation with teams of basically any other NFL team. I mean, this is like realistically. Yeah. He's an incredible player.
Absolutely.
And the things he's able to do and extend plays. He had one play where he ran for a touchdown. Did you see what he did to that defensive end?
I did, and that was an unbelievable play.
It was. I watched. I was like, "Oh my god!" I literally was watching the game and I screamed, "Oh my god!" Like you couldn't control it. Yeah. He really is one of a kind. And for the Titans, you have to keep him off the field. You had the formula to do so, but I tell you, it is really hard to try to stop that man.
It really is.
Ask the Houston Texans. You found a way in the first quarter to get 2 fumbles on punts, keeping Patrick Mahomes off the field. And the guy still found a way to score 4 straight touchdowns in a little over a quarter. We go to this game, and the Titans looked like they had a chance to keep up with the with the Kansas City Chiefs. They were winning, early on in that game. But when Patrick Mahomes turns it on, it's really hard to keep up with. And Ryan Tannehill, I'll probably never tell you, he's a great quarterback, but I felt like he played a very efficient game.
Absolutely. I mean, 21 of 31, 209 yards, 2 touchdowns. So, a QBR of 74. But
21 of 31, I guess it's like 2/3 of your passes. But, again, you don't want him turning it over. That's the kind of player you have in Tannehill, and it's for the Kansas City Chiefs. Not only do you not want Patrick Mahomes to not turn it over, you want him to go to work, and you know it's going to happen. And there's just a different mindset there. And Derrick Henry is an amazing talent, But right now, you're looking at the Kansas City Chiefs. They don't even own a running back. Okay, Damian Williams is a very good running back, a decent running back to say the least, I would say, in that little area. He's not like something really, really crazy. But this team, and that's something they lack.
Their leading rusher was Patrick Mahomes.
Of course.
53 yards and a touchdown.
I can imagine, yeah.
So,
17 for 45. Yeah. So they don't even own a great running back, and they're still throwing up 35 points. Now, imagine you watch Melvin Gordon go to the Kansas City Chiefs. It's just going to be a scary situation overall.
I mean, just think if Kareem Hunt wasn't such an idiot. This team would be unbelievable. I mean, you put Kareem Hunt on the Chiefs, or back on the Chiefs. They're an unbelievable team. And
there's so many
Tyreek
options
Hill,
for them. They're an unbelievable team right now.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. They're just missing a running back. Damian Williams is a formidable running back.
They're not even missing a running back because the success is there.
Absolutely. But that's what I'm saying. Once you put a running back on this team that's decent, good running back, there's no stopping this team. Patrick Mahomes, 23 of 35, 294 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. QBR of 97.5.
So he actually had more incompletions than Tannehill did.
He did.
But at the same time, he finds ways to extend plays. He makes it very difficult to play defense. And
he does.
I don't mean to spoil it. I mean, I'm just all in on this team is probably going to win it all. I mean, that's my vote, folks. I mean, you heard it here first. I mean, real quick. We're about 2 weeks away from this big game, but I just don't see anyone stopping them. And, I mean, if you want to be a betting man, I don't care if you're betting, whoever you are against the kid. You don't want to bet against Patrick Mahomes. There were some people that loved the Titans in that game, and you just, I understand that there was a formula to beat them. But at the same time, how comfortable were you?
Yeah.
Trying to watch Patrick Mahomes and expecting him to get stopped. You saw that game against the New England Patriots. He would have went to the Super Bowl last year if he would have won a coin toss.
Yep.
There's no doubt in my mind.
Yep.
And the Patriots defense was a good defense this year. Am I wrong?
They were really good.
So they were good towards the end of the year before, I can imagine. So, it just shows that it doesn't really matter who you're going to put in front of this kid. And he's already come out and said it. He knows it.
Oh,
he's like, we're hard. No one's going to stop us. And you need to have that confidence, but he is certainly backing it up. The Tennessee Titans, I felt like they played a great game, especially early on. They were getting Derrick Henry involved. They were really just trying to move those chains, keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. But, this kid is just so good. And whenever he was on the field, he made it hurt, and Tennessee just couldn't keep up.
Absolutely. So the Chiefs win this 35-24. They move on to the Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl in 50 years, I think, or they have a chance to win their first, Super Bowl since, for like 50 years. So,
it's a lot of credit to go around.
This is huge. We're actually going to be calling this the Joe Montana Bowl because he played for both teams. So, Packers 49ers NFC Championship game.
Clearly,
this. There's really no other way of saying this. What was his name? Mosart.
Raheem Mostert. And actually, it's funny if we want to go into this. The 49ers, folks, they won this game 37-20, dominated in the first half. They were up 24-0 at the end of the first half. It was really looking like a one-sided affair. Actually, was it 24-0 or 27-0?
It was 27-0 at halftime.
Incredible.
It was unbelievable.
And they literally ran the ball. I knew they were running. They knew they were running. Green Bay knew they were running. Green Bay fans knew they were running. Everyone watching that game knew they were running, and they still couldn't stop it. That is probably the most intimidating thing you can do in the game of football.
Absolutely.
You ask anyone that's played this game a very long time, if you're able to just pound the rock and continue to get first downs, continue to move the ball, continue to get big plays, you are a very, very intimidating ball club. And when you throw that defense in with Bosa and Sherman and, just the studs they have on that side, they turn into a very, very dangerous team. And Garoppolo is a very capable player. Doesn't even need to do anything right now for this team. Doesn't need to. Might need to do more in the Super Bowl. But I feel like he'll be able to do it. And that's what's going to make this such a great game.
He's definitely going to need to do more.
Of course, but this is what will make it a great game, though.
This is what I wanted to talk about because he was 6 for 8, 77 yards in the game. Now, obviously, Mozart ended up going for 29 of 220 with 4 touchdowns. He didn't need to do much, obviously. But that's not going to happen in the Super Bowl. Obviously, the Chiefs, as I said, the Chiefs' defense is not that good, but they stepped up in that second half and stopped the best running back at the time, especially on the run that he was on, Derrick Henry, in the second half for 7 yards. So they're going to need to do this because, first of all, what did we say the formula was for the Titans to beat the Chiefs?
Well, I just mentioned it.
Run the ball. Keep Mahomes off the field.
Absolutely.
That is the biggest thing. They're going to have to do this in the Super Bowl.
It's basically whether or not you thought who would have a better chance to get this done, the Titans or the 49ers. The 49ers are obviously the more capable team of getting this done. The 49ers are a good team. But the spread is 1.
It's actually it's up at 2 right now.
I bet. I don't agree with it. I think it should be over 3 for the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's just
see that.
That's just my standpoint. Where I'm coming at with this. And you know what? I've been wrong. I said that there was no doubt that the Baltimore Ravens were going to be going by the way Lamar Jackson was playing, but I was played a fool for that. Patrick Mahomes has not shown me anything of any kind of chance of a bump in the road or any kind of sort of thing like that. He was hurt early in the year. So we had a very human-like Mahomes. And we saw what it would be like. We thought, no shot for this team. A hurt Mahomes with a crap defense, and the New England Patriots are just thriving. There's no shot.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs are going to return back to the Super Bowl, or go to the Super Bowl, not return.
We didn't even think that Patrick Mahomes would be back, this season because of the injury that he did have this year. But he came back just as good. and they kind of flew under the radar.
Of course.
All the way through. And this was just an unbelievable, game last week for the Chiefs. And it was an unbelievable game for the 49ers, but the 49ers are going to have to change something up. They did hold Green Bay to 62 yards rushing. That was the big thing because the way that Aaron Jones was running for the Packers was the reason, other than Aaron Rodgers, was one of the main reasons that they went that far. Aaron Jones really took the Packers to another level offensively.
Well, I want to go back
you have Aaron Rodgers.
I want to go back to the other side with Mosart because I read an article about this. Because you talk about the running games, and obviously Aaron Jones was great. He had a 4-touchdown game himself. And speaking of the man that got the 4-touchdown game in the playoffs, Raheem Mostert, I saw an article the other day. They talk about 6 different teams, 6 different people.
Yeah.
Skipped out on him. They brought him in.
Yeah, I heard this.
And they all cut him.
Yeah.
Raheem Mostert is a good player. So is Tevin Coleman. So is Tevin Coleman. So I wouldn't even put, if you put Damian Williams in that role that you just put Mostert in, with that offensive line and what they were doing, those holes that were wide open with that scheme. Mm-hmm. The scheme is impressive for the 49ers. That's what makes them so great. Of course. He's got a lot of credit in that.
Yeah.
Every run that was successful in that game, 29 of them, because that's how many he had, 220 yards.
He wasn't getting touched for like 8 yards.
Of course, absolutely. And that was not a Green Bay defense that was a bad defense. They just stopped basically argument for the MVP of the National Football League. They just stopped him the week before.
Yeah.
So it came down to the scheme, played very well. The 49ers have a chance to do this to Kansas City and keep Mahomes off the field. Unfortunately, I feel like even with keeping him off the field, Mahomes is just I don't know if he can be stopped. I've never seen anything like it. I'll be honest. I mean, you pick your poison. A lot of people are going to like the 49ers because they're liking what I'm saying right now, where they should be able to run the ball at will.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, Raheem Mostert is a regular guy.
Yep.
He's a Damian Williams. He's not the Melvin Gordons or the great players in this league. Mostert, I'm not trying to take anything away from the guy, but the holes that he had were amazing. Tevin Coleman would have been just as capable because he was the week before. We all witnessed it.
Absolutely.
So whether or not you want to believe that this kid was, everyone's like, oh, these guys passed on him, because I knew the Jets were one of them. And I'm like, this is incredible. Like this, he's a good player, but I don't see any difference between him and Damian Williams.
Yeah.
It could be all about the scheme and all about the situation you're in.
Yeah, I'm excited for next week's show. Obviously, we're gonna give our picks for the Super Bowl, and
I've already given mine.
Well, yeah, we're gonna get into it more, and the other thing that I like about doing the week of the Super Bowl is just going over the prop bets.
Of course,
because I'm just looking over some of them. Some of them are pretty funny, but I'm not even gonna bring them up until
I wanted to bring this up. This is 100%. We're bringing up all the props.
Yeah.
One by one, it'll be amazing. People love betting it. It's incredible. Haven't won a coin toss in about 6 years. But I read something the other day, or actually yesterday, I shouldn't say the other day, about a new rule being implemented in the NFL at the Pro Bowl, and it's getting tried out. And I'm not a fan of it.
They have 2 rule changes in the Pro Bowl.
Do you know what they are?
There was one with the onside kick.
I don't like
how you would have to kick a field goal.
I don't like it. Wait, what?
Yeah, it's. I'm gonna try to bring it up, but
what's
your feeling on?
No, I heard it was a situation like you basically you get a chance to convert a 4th and 15 as opposed to an onside kick.
Yeah,
and if you convert the 4th and 15, then you get the ball back.
Yep.
With Patrick Mahomes being in this league, it's not a good rule to go with. Folks, there is so much that goes into play with the offensive side of the football. All right, defense is getting tougher and tougher to play as each season goes on, and the NFL better be aware of it very soon, or you're going to have a one-sided affair. It'll be more scoring, more, everyone will love it. It'll be a better, league. It will not be a better league that way. I'll tell you, the real football fans will tell you that a defensive performance where you yield a shutout of a team, even, which seems almost impossible now, is very incredible to watch.
Yeah.
It really is an incredible thing to watch. It's almost incredible as seeing a touchdown because it's not saying your team's getting shut out.
Yeah.
But you take pride in it. And the biggest problem I have is even what I saw in the Tennessee-Kansas City game, and every Tennessee Titan fan will tell you, the way we talked about that game just now before was that the Tennessee Titans had just basically, they had no shot. Patrick Mahomes is too good. There was a play in that game where a pass interference was called on a deep route from the Tennessee Titans. Kansas City Chiefs threw a deep ball. Titans got pass interference. Arguably one of the most questionable calls. And someone said, oh, well, he didn't turn his head. Ladies and gentlemen, the NFL's defensive style is getting limited each and every day. And you're caring about whether or not a man turned his head to face the ball as opposed to the receiver. Well, he's not allowed to just face the receiver. Well, why not? He can't touch him.
Yeah.
You already can't touch him at all.
I know. Listen.
I don't understand why that's a rule in the NFL.
The defense.
You want to talk about rules that you want to try out in the Pro Bowl? That's not a rule you need to try out. This 4th and 15 garbage. Or what was the other rule?
The main reason why they want to do that is because the NFL teams attempted 4th and 15 plays 25 times in 2019, converting 6 out of those 25 times, which is 24%. The onside kick conversion rate has dropped in recent years, going from 21 in 2017 to under 10 over the past 2 seasons. So
that's unfortunate. You shouldn't be losing a game late then. It's very simple.
The other rule change is the NFL is looking to adjust the illegal shift.
The false start. Yeah,
the legal
wide
shift penalty,
right?
Giving wide receivers a reprieve when lined up in the 2-point stance. So basically,
that was a big problem they had too, though.
Yeah, and I understand it because you're giving other the other positions a chance to so basically,
I understand that I like that, Ed, and they're going to try these both out at the Pro Bowl. But again, like I was saying,
nobody watches the Pro Bowl anyway. So.
Understandable, but people are going to want to watch it to make sure that rule doesn't get implemented. But again, the pass interference, and I want to know because you had something you were about to say, and I kind of just cut you off when I talked about the guy turning around and not being able. Obviously, he already can't put his hands on him. So why? Let me ask you, why call that a pass interference in that situation? And do not tell me because his head didn't turn around. And that's what the NFL is going to tell you.
That's what the NFL is going to tell you. Is just the main reason is because if you're not turned around, then it's like you weren't going for the ball. And that's the main reason why they say he didn't turn his head. It's because he's not going up and trying to fight for the ball. He's just basically going at the receiver, hence interfering with him. That's the reason why the whole turning the head thing is a problem.
But now there's a thing where you don't need to make any contact at all. And if you get your hand in between someone else's hands who's trying to catch a ball, folks, passing the ball nonstop in football, like what you're watching Patrick Mahomes do,
a lot.
It's not a very smart idea.
Yeah.
On the basis that turnovers are twice as likely to happen on a passing play as opposed to a running play. And it's basically simple math.
Yeah.
On a running play, the only thing you can do is fumble the football.
Yep.
On a passing play, you could throw an interception or you can fumble the football as well.
Yeah.
So running the football almost becomes a careful approach. You always got players and coaches and fans always critiquing decision-making, even when they talked about, Marshawn Lynch and everything in that goal line carry.
Yeah.
And the reason you run the football on the goal line a lot of the time, you're only a couple of yards away, but you don't want to turn the ball over in that area no matter what.
Yep.
And I understand a touchdown is everything. You're going to continue to run the ball because you're not going to turn the ball over no matter where it is.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, if your team cannot stand up to another team's, like what I just said, what the 49ers were able to do with running the football, if you can't believe your team could do that, then you don't believe, you basically don't belong to be a Super Bowl champion. Yeah,
I mean, it's crazy to say, but the 49ers' weakest part of their team is Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, it's sad to say because he's a decent quarterback, but as of everything that we've seen of him this year, the low point of their team is Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, it's sad to say, but that's the truth.
He's done what's been asked
What
of him.
had
So
to
it's
happen.
hard.
Yeah.
We'll see in the Super Bowl. That's what's going to make this game so fun to watch, folks, is that basically we're going to see what Garoppolo's made out of, because whether he likes it or not, he's going to have to throw the ball more than 10 times in this game. If you want to keep up with Mahomes, you're going to have to throw the ball more than 10 times. And if you have to throw it less than that, that means your team's running game and your scheme and Kyle Shanahan, I'll want to shake your hand.
Yeah.
Because that's an incredible performance if you find a way to beat Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and that offense it's just cruising.
Yeah. So in other NFL news, like we said, the draft is in Las Vegas this year. And as we said, everything goes big in Las Vegas.
Of course.
So they just came out this week with how they're going to do the stage. The stage is going to be in the water. And the players who get drafted will have to get on a boat and travel to
I
the
saw it.
stage.
Yeah, I read about this. Honestly, I paid no mind to it. I understand you want to make it a show. That's the NFL doing its part to try to. It's not going to make me more interested in the draft. I mean, I'm already interested in the draft. I feel like you're just trying at that point to make something a lot bigger than it needs to be. There's really not much you need to adjust to the NFL draft. Okay, let's do it. We're celebrating the Oakland Raiders coming into Las Vegas in their first season in the league. It's going to be really fun, a very exciting season on that standpoint alone. But at the same time, it's not going to make me more excited or less excited for the draft.
My issue with this is, first off, how far is this boat going to have to go? Because this could really extend the draft pretty big, and it already
is a very long draft. I mean, I remember last year you just getting very upset about them taking a long time on their picks. You've known for a couple months your pick, all this stuff. Yeah,
I mean, that's in our intro, but
yes, yeah,
we will be doing another draft show. You know, that's
100%.
just. I mean, we actually did pretty well with that one last year.
It was very good.
So I'm excited to do that. We'll have our Super Bowl show coming up this week. So that's exciting. So like I said, I just hope that the boat isn't a far distance.
No.
You know, from the green room. You know,
I mean, you'll have people staring at it almost in shock.
I mean, you're really putting a lot on these guys that are doing the analysis of it, because they already know everything that they need to know and everything that they can say, and now they're gonna have to say more, because as this boat is going from the green room to the stage, that just adds more time to for these guys to talk. So the ref of the Super Bowl is going to be the ref that screwed over the Saints in the Saints-Rams game. That's an interesting thing.
I'm so glad we brought that up.
Yeah. So right before we got on the air today, obviously if you're listening to this or watching this on YouTube, you're watching this at a different time. But the day that we're shooting this, the day that we're recording this, is Wednesday. So the news just dropped right before we got on that Eli Manning will retire. So that's big news, especially in the New York area. But
Listen, you're talking to a Jet fan and a Cowboy fan. You probably have no more added hatred for the New York Giants than the two sitting in this room right now. But I think we both can agree that we have tremendous respect for Eli Manning and the career he had. He played
plenty of respect.
He played a lot of big games. He won a lot of games that a lot of people didn't expect him to win. Now, they didn't expect the Giants to win, but that means they didn't expect him to win.
Yeah.
They didn't think he would stand tall with some of the best, like Aaron Rodgers in his prime in the middle of Green Bay. An incredible performance in that game from Eli Manning, and then obviously beating the best team to ever live in the New England Patriots. So you credit Eli as much as you can. Okay, it was a perfect perfect career for him. One team throughout the entire career, just a standalone guy. Most likely a Hall of Famer.
That's where I was gonna go. Do you believe he's a Hall of Famer though?
Yeah, just because of the 2 rings.
See, I don't.
I think Tony Romo will be a Hall of Famer too.
That's not going to happen though.
Like in the broadcast.
I mean, I think Tony Romo is a better.
I understand it's listen.
Eli
You're
Manning.
always going to be. You're going to have the exempt of him, but I mean, when it comes down to it, he won 2 Super Bowl rings. They had a lot of successful seasons for the New York Giants. He was a big time. I just remember at one point this guy was creating wide receivers. I had no idea who Mario Manningham was.
He was creating tight ends. His big thing was the tight end.
Absolutely.
I mean, Kevin Boss, Jeremy Shockey at one point.
Yep.
Eli Manning. Listen, don't get me wrong. I hate the Giants more than anything. Actually, no, I hate the Eagles more than the Giants. But I hate the Giants just as much. So therefore, I do hate Eli Manning, but I respect the hell out of him.
Did you carry the one in your compare? Okay, you good? You got this?
Yeah.
You got it.
So, I mean, it is definitely when it comes down to the NFC East.
Of course.
But I respect the hell out of him. Do I think he's a Hall of Famer? I mean, the fact that we have to question it should be your answer right there. I think he's on the fence, and I think the only thing that's going to keep him, actually going to bring him into the Hall of Fame is his Super Bowls, as you said. So I can't fight about it. I can't cry about it. I can't do anything of that. But that's just how I feel.
You just got to go and cry at
Eli
Jerry Jones.
Yeah,
because Jerry Jones is the only person to blame. You know, these are guys that went out there and had great careers. Yeah. You got to find the next one. I mean, I'm a Jet fan. We don't have the next great thing. I mean, I love the whole thing that Jamal Adams. I mean, this is what's so great about the game of football.
Yeah.
You know, we get really into it. We really love our own teams. We wish there wasn't a Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. There's just so much, and that's what makes the game so great. I just wanted to touch on something real quick that you had mentioned during the show about, your behavior off the field affecting your basis of coming into the Hall of Fame.
That's going to help you,
and I understand that, and I think it's the right thing to do. I don't think it's a wrong thing to do, and there's plenty of examples, okay? All right, I just watched a documentary about a week ago. I've been one of the youngest players to ever score a touchdown in a Super Bowl game, and you couldn't be worse than him off the field. Yes, I did. Absolutely.
I watched it too. What did you think about it?
When it comes down to it, it's just a sad situation. The kid had everything, threw it away, and at the same time his mindset of the whole situation didn't even change. And it's almost a scary thing to see something like that out of someone, because that's someone that needs help, and obviously, there was a lot of things that affected it, but I was a fan of the documentary. I thought it was an amazing documentary. It's incredible that someone could sit there and do the things he did off the field and then be able to show up to work every single day. And these people in his office, and his football field was his office, and so, his day-to-day work life, and people had no idea what was beneath.
Now, if you don't understand what we're talking about, it's the Aaron Hernandez documentary on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, go see it. But yeah, I agree with that. The thing that I think they did in this documentary, which not a lot of people liked, was that they kind of made him the victim, and they kind of made it a sad story when it comes to Aaron Hernandez. Yeah, the guy was a monster. I mean, on and off the field, technically. There was something, obviously he had one of the worst, they say in the documentary, he had one of the worst cases at the age that he was of CT that they've ever seen.
And I understand that, but I really don't think it makes a big impact at that point.
I mean, obviously I think it makes it
does. It's a contributing factor,
yeah.
But to go to the lengths that he went to and the things he was doing off the field, that's just not even normal at that point. I don't care what kind of brain you have. It's just not smart.
The thing that, it kind of brought more information that I didn't know. Just when it came to the murders that he committed, he goes, to his house, gets this whole big security system, destroys all this video, but forgets to destroy the video of him walking in the house with a gun in his hand. Or him taking the rental car back, leaving the gun shell in the car of the rental. Some of the things that boggled my mind, and just the fact that, he says in the documentary, especially to his mom, when you hear the phone calls from jail, and he just says that he loves his cell. He loves jail. It was, and then you hear his mom say, because you love structure. You had that structure your whole life leading up to your father's death, and then after that, there was nothing. And the fact that he also went up to the Patriots after this whole thing happened with this drug dealer, he goes up to the Patriots and say, "Can you trade me to get me out of this town, get me out of this state?" And they don't even trade him. Obviously, you see it as, Bill Belichick sees it. This guy's unbelievable. We have Rob Gronkowski on one side, Aaron Hernandez on the other side. A guy that's a wide receiver sized as, a tight end. We have chances to do everything, and that's understandable. We know what Bill Belichick was thinking. He's not thinking of what's going on because he doesn't know. And that was
there was
a
lot of
things.
There was a lot of things that made. I wouldn't even say it made the Patriots look bad at all or anything, but it made the NFL look bad.
Yeah.
When they even talked about the shots and the temporary measures that were taken to get rid of pain in time for games and how frequently he was taking it.
He's taking
Ladies and gentlemen, that's not normal. Okay, you should not be putting something like that into your body every single day.
Yeah.
Okay, there are times that rest the body. The body needs time to heal. And the NFL needs to maybe put a watch on that because
they banned it, obviously, but
yeah, but you know what? There are other things, and
absolutely.
At the same time, it's got to be eliminated. If someone is hurt, they are hurt. We are all human here. Our body parts are fragile, no matter how big we are,
especially your head.
Absolutely, and it's a big time deal that the NFL needs to work into. If someone's got headaches and stuff like that, giving them a shot to get rid of these headaches, or something's hurting with their leg, anything like that, take a shot and it goes away. That's not healthy. It's never been healthy. I don't care what you read up on it. The NFL needs to fix a way to your players in your league are going to get hurt. They could be the biggest of all stars ever, but I guarantee you, someone like Patrick Mahomes, who did whatever he did to his knee. Guarantee you the next couple of weeks that he was playing after that, he was taking some sort of supplement where the pain goes away.
Absolutely.
And, hopefully that's what I took from there. That's what made the NFL look bad more than anything from that documentary. But, a good documentary altogether. It was very interesting.
Yeah. So before we get out of here, we're just going to talk about the Conor McGregor fight. I watched it, You literally just watched the fight. I mean, it was very easy because it was only 40 seconds. Conor McGregor finishes Cowboy in 40 seconds.
I had people coming up to me and they're like telling me, like, "Oh man, you didn't order the McGregor fight?" I go, "Oh man, I know. I used my minutes somewhere else."
I mean,
that's a big problem the MMA has. I mean, it's understandable for someone like me who can watch the full fight an hour later on YouTube from someone who's recording. It's a big issue, especially when you have 40-minute fights. They need to lower the price of that.
So McGregor finishes Cowboy in 40 seconds. Cowboy doesn't even land a punch, kick, or anything to Conor McGregor. So basically, he can fight tomorrow if he really wanted to.
Yeah.
So the big question, first, McGregor gets $3 million for the 40 seconds, and Cowboy gets $200,000. Still, a lot. But the question now is who or what is up for next for Conor McGregor, because it could be boxing, it could be UFC. He signed a UFC contract for 5 more fights. So it's going to be interesting. He called out a bunch of people, obviously, as he usually does after the fight. Everybody wants to see the rematch between Khabib and Conor McGregor. I think that would be a great fight. I think every single one of these chances, these fights that are chances for Conor McGregor, are going to be great fights.
The next big fight for him will be against either Khabib or Masvidal. It's very simple. It's really between those two. It's really nobody else needs to even be mentioned.
I'd even put Nate Diaz, because Nate Diaz did beat Conor McGregor.
I wouldn't even do it, because now you're mixing up his weight class and everything else. He had a dominant weight class.
Yeah, but
you're supposed to stay in that.
He's gone through like 4 different weight classes now. He fought Cowboy this week.
But I mean, honestly, what he did for Nate Diaz, I know, but what he did with Nate Diaz was he went up to a level that was just honestly not.
No, absolutely.
No need.
And right now, the most likely fight is Khabib. The second most likely is Jorge Masvidal. That's what you're looking at. So you got 2.8 predicted million for pay-per-view buys for Khabib, and then you got 2 million pay-per-view buys prediction for Masvidal. Nate Diaz is also up there too. I would love to see that, because that was awesome. It'd be the third one, I think, now.
Yeah.
Because I think Conor beat him, Nate Diaz beat him. So now
I'd
we're
rather
going
see
for
the other
third.
two. I'm so
we'll
tired of Diaz and McGregor. I want someone else.
I mean, Diaz,
I know.
trash talker. Conor
course.
McGregor, trash talker. It's just great. It's great TV.
But honestly, how dominant those other two
no,
have been, I
absolutely.
just want to watch them fight.
Yeah,
I mean, I definitely would like to see.
This has to happen.
Absolutely. I honestly also don't think that. I don't even know if Conor stands a chance against either one of those two.
Really?
It would be tough. I mean, these guys are, they really can take it to the ground. They could beat you on standing. That's what makes it so scary.
Do you know that Jorge Masvidal is 35 years old?
No, I had no idea. He's having a great career towards the end.
Yeah. But that will do it. Next week we got the Super Bowl show, which I'm excited for. We're going to bring up prop bets. We're going to talk about, what the line moves up. Right now it's at 2. We'll see what the line moves up or moves down at. I'm excited. The Super Bowl is always an exciting time in sports.
Absolutely.
And especially in our business of podcasting. It's a lot of fun to talk about. So we'll have that whole talk. Funny news, Antonio Brown arrest warrant is out for him because he's just an idiot. But that's about it. Wow, I was about to say Tony Romo.
I don't know
Eli
why we were talking Hall of Fame the whole time. I don't know.
Yeah,
why
well,
you didn't bring
I
that
just
up.
saw a tweet that says Tony Romo is a better quarterback than Eli Manning. So that's funny. But Eli Manning retired. Derek Jeter, Larry Walker in the Hall of Fame. And we got the Super Bowl coming up. If you guys want to watch the Pro Bowl, you can this week. That's just whatever. But that will do it. I'm Jerry.
I'm Kevin.
Beat Breezy.
Beat Breezy.
And it is all over! You've been listening to Running Up the Score. We run up the score on sports radio. For more Running Up the Score, go follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at RUTS Sports.